What's up, guys? You're watching Fight Feed. My name is Jake, host of Fight Feed, and this video that you're about to watch is a list of my favorite knockouts from 2019 to 2024 in the UFC. Some of these knockouts are well known and some aren't. My goal with this whole list was to try to compile my favorite knockouts without kind of putting out the most famous ones. Now, if you see some popular ones in here, they're in there because I have some sort of attachment to it, whether it be like Masvidal versus Askren, which was the first UFC pay-per-view card I ever purchased myself, or Chandler versus Ferguson, one that I feel was not only historic given that it was the first time Tony Ferguson was ever flatline KO'd, but also just the gravity of the moment. Generally speaking, what I would say is the ones that are more well-known in this list are ones that I have like a personal attachment to in terms of when I was watching. Like I can kind of remember watching the full card, remember almost everything that went on. There's going to be some honorable mentions. I might as well get those out of the way. I did not include the Leon head kick. We know that head kick was probably one of the best ever. You guys have seen that. And unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of money that time. And unfortunately, during that time, I didn't have a lot of extra cash, so I did not actually buy that pay-per-view. And my stream honestly kept cutting out during that fight. I did get a chance to watch that live. It's an amazing head kick. If you're new to UFC or you're new to MMA, you got to watch the Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman 2 head kick KO. Fucking beautiful. And it's a whole Rocky story. So yes, definitely that is an honorable mention. And look, there's about nine KOs that I have in this list. This is not meant to be all-inclusive, of course. I wanted to just kind of pull together a shorter list of my favorite KOs. And for any of you that are watching this video, I know that some of you don't give a shit. You don't care what I have to say. You don't even want to watch my face. So if that's the case, I also have the clips of my favorite knockouts as a separate video on my channel. You can go ahead and click the link below. But I would appreciate if you stick around and watch this video, get to see a little bit of the commentary I have. I am a huge UFC and MMA fan. I was a casual fan, and then in 2019, purchased my first UFC card, which happened to be UFC 239. And I was blessed by the gods to be able to purchase my first UFC card and see the madness that occurred with Masvidal landing the fastest KO in UFC history on that card to open the main card. So very lucky to have seen that. Is the first pay-per-view card I've ever purchased. I had seen UFC previously, when I was a kid. I kind of always followed UFC. Unfortunately, UFC was not like widely available. Obviously, you had to do pay-per-view, and yeah, I didn't have money like that as a kid. So I did have a friend who was super into to UFC and kind of got me into it. My friend's in jiu-jitsu, and so he showed me the Diaz brothers, and I've always followed it loosely. I would say I was a casual fan, obviously, up until 2019 when I became a hardcore fan. And now I would say UFC is a big part of my life. I cannot tell you the last time I've missed a fight night. I haven't missed a Dana White's Contender Series. If for whatever reason I haven't been able to watch something on like a Saturday or a Tuesday when they're on, I end up actually watching it later on. So I'm definitely a huge fan. But let's dive into this list. So we're going to start it off. We got Masvidal versus Askren. Fucking hands behind the back, man. I fucking love it. The way he starts. Here it goes. Boom! Stiff, dude. Look at his toes. Wow. Masvidal. Fucking crazy. And then he's going to hit this thing. Crazy, man. It's a crazy KO. All right, this one's De Castro versus Tafa. This one, I believe, is, I don't remember the exact UFC card, but it was like October of 2019, so it was a few months after that card, and this is actually the card that Adesanya took the belt from Robert Whittaker. So this fight, I gotta say, was a great fight from the get-go. There was obviously kind of a back and forth exchanging and things of that nature with both Tafa and De Castro. And what you'll see, Tafa, I believe this is Tafa's first fight. So he was kind of, I believe it was his first fight in the UFC. So he was kind of coming in strong, right? And this is also his hometown. Here, I'm fucking talking too much, man. That shit was crazy. It's still nuts to watch. It was one of the first heavyweight KOs that me and my friends got to witness, because once I started watching this, I got my homies involved, and we, would buy each card, and for a while we were buying the cards, but that was before I found streamers. It was a bad KO though. So what happened? He caught him right on the chin, but if you saw, Tafa was throwing too, right? So he just didn't connect. But this is my favorite part about this KO. Tafa's got this too much Cuervo face. Como se dice. But respect to Tafa, he's a fucking G. All right, we got Lee versus Gillespie. So this fight, just get my pauses real quick, just so I'm not talking over the actual KO. This fight was on the BMF belt card, where Masvidal fought against Diaz for the BMF belt, which was a brand new belt created by the UFC. I should say created by Nate Diaz, because he's the one that created that. But yeah, this is on that card. It's like November. I'm crazy with dates, so might have a little bit of autism, but it was, I think, November 2nd, 2019. This was the opener of that card. So for some reason, 2019, we had a lot of main card openers that were nuts. Some would say that in this fight, Kevin Lee saw the holes in Gillespie's head kick defense. Let's see.
Sound for this man, right?
Good fight.
I want to speak.
They were exchanging early on. A lot of jabs from both guys. Kevin showing the power. There it is. Sat him down. I mean, he created that lifeless body effect on Gillespie. It was bad. Now, what's nuts about this is Gillespie actually was undefeated before this fight. So this is his first loss in MMA and UFC in his entire career. Kevin Lee, man. What could be with this man? Great. He's looked great and he's looked bad. I'll tell you what, he could kick my ass. I mean, you just got to see this shit. Shin on the chin. Ooh. And the way he sits down, man, he's just, it's bad, bro. It's a bad one.
Right hand.
Watch the fucking eyes here. He's.
First it left. Real time.
And then you got to hear Rogan. He's like, oh, you can hear him snoring. It's bad. Dude, they got so many angles. It's fucking nuts. Okay, this one's O'Malley versus Wineland. This is one of my favorite KOs. It's actually on my birthday in 2020. So June 6, 2020. And, okay, O'Malley, in this fight, I feel showcased his speed. He did get caught quite a bit. And I was actually surprised by that, because when I rewatched this a few times, I didn't even notice live when I was watching how much O'Malley got hit. He got caught with a pretty big right hand by Wineland, and he ate it. He ate it really well. So I think it showcases his chin, but then what I think also was showcased is his speed and his ability to kind of see openings in his opponent's defense. So not only is this a great KO, but it has one of my favorite sound bites from Daniel Cormier that I've ever heard in the octagon, or I guess outside the octagon. Here we go.
Already. Well, in sense of physically strong guy. Me and John were talking about his deadlift 700 pounds.
Nice spin. There you go. So the speed I'll show you here. Right body kick, jab. So fast. Misses this. Here we go. Sets it up perfect. That's all she wrote. Listen to DC.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, he slept in bed.
It's my favorite DC moment. He slept in bed.
Now you know. It's time to buy stock.
Shit is hilarious, man.
Shut up. That's where O'Malley's dangerous when you play it. Back up, hold back. Wow. It don't matter. Dropped it right in on him and slept, dude.
All right, so this one is Sandhagen versus Edgar. This is 2021, early 2021. It's like February, I believe. So this fight was pretty big, high stakes for the bantamweight division, because I think it's what ultimately catapulted Sandhagen to kind of that upper echelon before he fought Jan. And I know he ended up fighting Jan, I think, later in the year. I don't think that he would have had that shot against Jan if he hadn't done this. And just to keep in mind for you guys that don't know, Sandhagen was actually on that previous card that I just showed you with O'Malley, he fought against Aljo and got choked out. All right. So that is kind of where the bantamweight division was at the time. He loses, and then between that card, this card, and then obviously Sandhagen ended up fighting Jan, you had Aljo, who fought Jan coming off of his win against Sandhagen in June. He fought 2 months after this, and then Aljo got hurt. He won the belt the first time, as you guys know. He got hurt. Sandhagen fills in for the October Abu Dhabi card. He fought against Jan. Jan beats him. It was for an interim belt, and then he came back. So just to give you guys some history and perspective there. Here we go. Right here. That is like the picture-perfect flying knee KO. He literally, it took him only 30 seconds to gauge. It took him 30 seconds to kind of just gauge where he was going to find that shot. And you could tell he was setting it up by the way he was skating around the octagon, waiting for Edgar to advance. I think he noticed that Edgar was advancing a certain way, and he saw that hole, and he filled the hole with a nice, beautiful, sharp flying knee to the chin. And then you got referee Keith Peterson. Referee no-nonsense Keith Peterson. Sir, are you ready? Sir, are you ready? Fight! All right, Ngannou versus Miocic. This one is brutal. So I'm going to say, before I dive in, I just want to talk over everything, because that's the kind of video this is, I guess. What you're going to notice in this fight is there's a lot more footage here, and it's mainly because I wanted to showcase the not only the sound impacts and how brutal it was. This was in 2021 as well, end of March, so you still got the COVID effects, right? So there's no audience really. The small octagon, you can kind of, right now with Apex cards, you can still hear everything, but this I feel like was heightened in terms of what you could hear because of the fact that there were no fans. Nowadays you can see fans kind of at Apex cards, so it gets a little bit more rowdy. But you put two behemoths, two 6'4" guys in that tiny octagon, and not only that, they're 6'4" and they're heavyweights, and one of them's Francis Ngannou. Fuck, man, here we go. Good fight, man. I really like this one. I don't know how Stipe's hair stays like perfect like that. It's kind of it's nuts. So, I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of commentary before Ngannou throws these beautiful uppercuts. Miocic fought Francis Ngannou in 2018, I think it was, to defend his heavyweight title. He actually beat Francis in a unanimous decision. He won with wrestling, right? Ngannou got gassed out quick. I don't think at that point in Ngannou's career he had faced someone who, kind of had it all, right? Like the mixing it up on the feet that Stipe has. Stipe was a Golden Gloves boxer. He's great at boxing. But he also has wrestling. And Ngannou gassed out fast, and Stipe took advantage of that, won that fight convincingly. Right here is like the beginning of the end for Stipe in this fight, because I think he kind of went back to the well with that one, trying to get the wrestling going, and he realized quickly that the wrestling wasn't going to work for him. Here it is. Ngannou's just feeding him some uppercuts, right? All right, so that is pretty much the story of round one. Now, round two, you can see Ngannou's face. Let me just look at his face. He's like, bro, I'm coming for my belt, right? And then Stipe's face is just like, here we fucking go, man. Here we fucking go.
Big shots. Stipe's hurting him considerably.
But dude, so much respect for Stipe to even bring the fight in this round two. Just a scary power puncher like Francis. And Stipe gets the jab going early in round two, and he looks good, but he just has no answer for the power of Francis.
So he's got to get the offense on a little bit.
I also just want to say, before I showcase what Francis does here, Stipe in the first fight against Francis did endure quite a bit of damage. So a lot of fans and a lot of analysts, people that commentate on UFC, they had said that they felt that first fight, Stipe took a lot of damage from Francis, and a lot of folks speculate that that fight kind of took a lot off of Stipe's chin and took a lot off of his career. He's already, like, at this point, I don't recall what his exact age is. He might be 40, 41. But at the time, he was in his late 30s, right? So he's kind of coming out of his prime and, did really well. But it just, I think when you have that amount of damage in a fight late in your career, it can kind of be disastrous, if you will. So here we go. You got Francis.
Nice.
Kind of mixing things up on the feet. He's got that lead hook that is just dirty. Okay, another lead hook. And I think he gets him here with a... Let me see. That was interesting. Right here. Bing. Bad, bro. It's fucking brutal. All right, so there's a couple things I'm going to point out on this one, guys. Referee in charge. So, what I want to point out here, it's a great moment, honestly. Fucking love Francis. I have so much respect for Francis, man. You're not ever going to hear me talk bad about Francis. Okay, so what's crazy about this KO? Well, there's nothing crazy about this KO. Like, we all know what Francis can do, right? We've seen what he did to Overeem. We've seen what he can do. What's crazy is that Stipe actually catches Francis, right? He does the exact same thing he did to win the belt back in whenever year that was against Verdum. He's kind of doing his stepping back, and he throws that straight, right? And he just demolished Verdum with that straight. Literally, if you watch that fight, Verdum falls face first into the canvas, and Stipe goes home a winner. And that was in Brazil too, I believe, Verdum's territory. So Stipe lands that on Francis. It wobbles him a little bit, but I want to showcase something because you'll see Stipe does this like thing after he hits Francis, right? He like does this little like, like, I'm gonna fucking get you, and it's what I would say is like it's like when you do something bad as a kid and your dad is running at you to beat your ass. Any of you who have a dad out there that did that, you know what I'm talking about. You've done something bad, your dad sees it, and now he's sprinting at you, right? And it's kind of like as a kid, you think it's the worst thing in the world. It's horrifying, right? Because you're like, I'm about to get my fucking world rocked, right? But like when I look back on it, you realize like most of our dads they're running at you. They have no defense, right? They're not guarding their face. They're just kind of going in. That's what Stipe did. And Francis threw a beautiful lead hook. Like, you'll hear the commentators, they might have already said it. It's a very short lead hook, which is interesting because Francis has extremely long reach, but the way that he threw that short hook is like, he's just showing that he has that skill and that boxing acumen. So, anyways, here it is. He drops Stipe, right? So here's when it comes. Because Stipe finds a punch here, right? Boom. Okay? You got Francis rocked. Now watch. Stipe sees it. Like, he's like, oh. Watch, he's running in. He's running like, this is the bad kid. This is all of us. This is dad running at us, okay? If only we knew we could just throw a nice sharp lead hook and sleep our fathers.
That's the worst area.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that. My dad would still beat my ass. Here we go. They keep showing the whole sequence here, so let's just watch it. It's a great knockout. Good. Boom. Here he goes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Boom. Right there. Now this is the most brutal part of this KO that I got to highlight. Sorry, I'm staying on this kind of long, guys. So if you see Stipe's left leg here, his brain is shut off by the punch. Stipe is going down, and this is something I try to do as a UFC fan, right? Because I think it's easy for all of us to sit on the couch and say, "What a pussy! I would have jabbed that guy, took him down, and put him in a rear naked choke and won the fight." It's easy to say that when we're all fucking on the couch eating fucking bullshit and watching UFC. What I try to do as a fan, and out of respect for all the fighters, because I have immense respect for every UFC fighter. I don't care if they look bad in there. To get in that octagon is it's another level of balls that you have to have, or just mentality, right? Not everybody has balls in the UFC, at least that I know of. Anyways, Stipe's leg crumble like that. What I try to do as a UFC fan is I try to put myself in the fighter's shoes. While you're watching this, just imagine like falling with all your weight, right, on your leg. Okay, your leg bent. Now, and like try to kind of just go down without buckling your body or your leg to kind of stop it, right? You can feel that tension and that stress, right? Now, imagine that your brain is shut off and you just kind of fall like that on the back of your leg. Like the way his leg goes doesn't look as brutal when you look at it this way, but the way like you'll see after he like his head hits the ground, his leg just like kicks outwards, right? And so I imagine he probably was feeling that as much as he was feeling the headache the next day too.
Drops him.
Boom, like that. It just like flies out. But now then you have Ngannou with the fucking soup. Like, dude, watch this punch at the end. This hammer fist is brutal. Watch.
Perfectly placed.
Oh, fuck, dude. You know what's crazy is right after that knockout with Francis, I actually was with my friend, and my friend was like, "This is some psycho shit." He was like, can you just hammer fist my chin? Like, don't go like a full wind up, but just like kind of like, you know, a little bit. I just want to see like how that feels." And I did it like light, and he's like, "Dude, holy fuck, I can't imagine like someone as big as Ngannou kind of just fucking, you know, throwing that shit down." So anyways, Chandler versus Ferguson. Not much of the fight here. Couldn't find the good shots. We got referee Jason Herzog, one of the best in the business there. But this is a great fight because once again, I know that Ferguson has quite the losing streak right now. But if you watch any of these fights, and I think Dana White said this too, but Ferguson was in this fight with Chandler. He actually dropped him. He hurt him bad, and Chandler was wrestling right because of it, which we don't see Chandler do really ever. I mean, the guy is a G. Like, he literally is like, I can wrestle, but fuck that. I'm going in there picking myself up by bootstraps and throwing fucking haymakers, which is awesome. We love it. That's why we love Chandler. But Ferguson looked great. And then I feel like the way that Chandler threw this kick, it's reminiscent of watching like a kung fu movie or a fighting movie as a kid. You see this crazy kick thrown by the protagonist or whoever it is, right? And it connects and knocks the person out. So then you turn around and you try it on your sibling. This is like the shit you watch a movie and you throw on your brother, right? That's how I feel Chandler threw the kick. Like, you'll see. Watch, it's going to happen fast here.
Look at it.
It's just going to come up. Bop, bop. We got it in slow-mo, don't worry. The backflips. So it's just nuts. So like, look at that. Boom. Let's just watch this back a little bit. Yeah, we'll watch the backflips. We'll give Chandler his moment. Okay. So the way he throws his kick. Now, like I said, I watch a lot of UFC. I'm not a fighter myself. I know very minimal. I've taken kickboxing before, but I did it for like a free trial period because it's expensive as shit. And also with that, I didn't learn how to kick or anything. They just showed us like basic boxing shit. Okay. So with that, what I've seen from front kicks, right? I've seen teep kicks kind of like this where you snap, the fighter will snap it into the body. With this, like a front kick though, I think the front kick from what I've seen is more of like a straight on. It's almost like a push kick. I know there's a push kick that is separate from a front kick, but you don't see as much of a snapping action with the front kick from what I've seen, especially on the head when you throw it at the head. But the way that Chandler throws this, he gets the leg up here, right, and the knees bent, and then like at this moment he finds that spot and he just snaps this bitch. And when he snaps it, look at that shit, the ball of the foot, like just fucking right. And like, dude, this is where I'm like this is like the brother thing, right? Where I said I feel like you watch a movie and then you try it on your brother. Like the look in Chandler's face is just like this look of like the look I've given my brother, because I used to get my ass beat. He's 3 years older. You have this intensity when you're ready to fucking strike back, man. And he's like, I am just ready to. And like instantly he goes down. Because I mean, how can you withstand that? How can a brain withstand that kind of force? I mean, the sweat just flying off the brow. It was bad, man. Bad. Respect to both those guys, though. Great fight. All right, so this fight is Torres versus Mota. Now, it is currently February 23rd, Friday, February 23rd. Torres is actually fighting tomorrow on the UFC Fight Night card in Mexico City. I had to showcase this because this is the best elbow knockout I've ever seen. Like, I have to say, like, I know there's been some crazy spinning elbow KOs. This is like the best just textbook elbow I've seen to knock somebody out. And the way that Torres puts his entire body weight into the force behind this elbow, it is beautiful. And you're going to hear the Irish Dragon Paul Felder also say it's the most beautiful elbow he's seen. And that is saying a lot from him because he's a beast in his own right with plenty of elbow KOs. Both these guys came off Contender Series. Torres is fighting this weekend. He's looking really good. So these two, they fought. It was a great fight, both trying to set up their distance. And you're going to see here, Torres, just watch. There it is. Slapped his ass. Mota's good too. Mota was actually catching Torres in this fight. You know, hit him with some 1-2s. But I got to just show this.
It's for real. Mexico's got another one.
Dude, the way that Fitzgerald like fucking lost his contender. Fucking lost it, man. He lost it there. So what you're gonna notice here is Torres was trying this the whole fight, right? He was gauging the distance, and I think the goal for him in the way that he was advancing Mota was to close the distance, right? Like any fighter would, and find that shot. So Mota was doing good initially, kind of escaping the advancement of Torres. But in this moment, Torres kind of gets him back to the cage and back into a corner where Mota doesn't really have an escape. And what you notice right away is, you know, Torres is in southpaw, but Torres kind of finds that distance and he uses his feet, right? Like he steps off to I think that's off to his right. He not only closed the distance, but when he steps in and he steps off to the right, he perfectly sets up this elbow, and he also gains the dominant foot position, right? So he's got the foot on you can't see his foot right now, but his foot here is on the outside of Mota's foot so that Mota cannot kind of do this dip and escape, right? So he's got him trapped there, and he's basically framing him for the best elbow I've seen right here. Bow! Like a fucking bat, bro. And like, dude, Mota's eyes are just rolled in the back of his head. See, right here, foot, outside, bang.
Oh my God, that was the most beautiful elbow I've seen in a long time. And I was half-inch. I mean, he saw that.
See that?
He just,
That's what I'm talking about. We'll just go back a couple frames. This is look, I'm not a fighter, so I give myself a little bit of credit being able to kind of figure these things out from watching all these fights. Here we go. So he like traps him in here, right? And Mota's, it's like, you know, obviously in a fight, you're not really being able to process this. Like, I'm sure Mota's like, this dude's stepping in, I've got to defend, right? So he's defending, but I think he's trying to catch him with a counter, right? But he doesn't know what he's throwing. And that's where I feel like Torres was so successful too, is Torres, before he threw this elbow, he had not even shown it yet. He was only going, 1-2, 1-2, and then he comes in with that elbow, and it's like it's completely different angle and different strike for Mota to even process, and he gets caught.
just
Beautiful. This fight is Emmett versus Mitchell. This is actually a huge KO, not only for Emmett. It was just a big KO, but Emmett has a lot of those. What was significant about this one for me is I actually got to go to UFC 296. My girlfriend, her brother, and I got tickets the night before this card. We were actually just kind of drinking one night. It was a Friday, obviously, and we were thinking, oh, like, we want to go to UFC 300, so we were going to try and look up. I was like digging around, and I just went and looked up UFC 300 ticket price. Obviously, at the time, they weren't out. But in looking that up, guess what I found? I signed UFC 296. They're selling tickets for $220 a piece. It's because it was like 10 o'clock at night, Friday, December 15th. We copped them. We drove to Vegas the next day because we're in Arizona. The rest is history. Now, this knockout was not only just nuts, but everybody around us was just jaw dropped by this KO. And, worried for Mitchell. To see him like seizing after the fact was pretty hard, because I love both these guys. as fighters. They seem like great guys too in real life. Yeah, hard to watch, but just a beautiful KO that Emmett landed. Also, there's no sound on this, and unfortunately, I was not filming at the UFC event really much. I was trying to just kind of enjoy it because it was, I'm not a big fan of kind of like being on my phone at a live event, especially for something like this. I hate concerts. I hate like most live things, but UFC was like, that's the one thing I love. So being able to see this live, I just didn't want to miss that moment. So because of that, I have no sound because, you know, I can't find a video with sound, and I have no footage, but it is what it is. We're going to watch it and enjoy it again. Now, what Mitchell has said post-fight is that he realized the mistake he made. He took this on short notice too, so let's give him credit there. But he knew the mistake he made. It's that he was trying to gain dominance from the striking, even though he knew that the striking wasn't his strong suit against Mitchell. And I think he called out specifically that he knew if he was trying to throw that right straight, that he was opening himself up to be countered, which is exactly what happened. So you're going to see it's just a lot of like advancing, trying to find distance. Emmett finds that kill shot. He waits. Watch, Mitchell starts to throw it. Boom. Over. He's stiff instantly. And the worst part about this, like I said, is like the seizing after the fact. So much respect for Emmett, though. You'll see. He's very classy, man. There's the seizing. And, you know, Emmett has his moment where he's enjoying his win, but then he does the right thing, and it shows his class as a fighter. And he even said after the fact he was worried about him, and you could tell he's just worried. It's a fucking tough to watch, man. All right, but that is my full list of some of my favorite KOs. It's not meant to be all inclusive, of course. I'll be dropping some more videos that include more KOs, but I wanted to kind of give a list of some popular, some less popular. If you guys like these KOs, go ahead and comment below. Also, if you don't like it, if you feel like there were some that I missed that I should have called out, comment those below as well. You're going to be seeing a lot more videos from me in the MMA space, just kind of talking about MMA, UFC, picks, who I think is on the up and up, and also just some of my favorite fights, breaking things down. I know there's a lot of content out there right now, but I want to add to the space because right now I feel it's red hot in terms of just the amount of content that we can all create, right? Because there's fights every weekend. There's a lot of up-and-coming characters in the UFC and just the other organizations. So as a fan of UFC, you're going to see a lot of stuff from me. Looking forward to hearing from you guys and hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to Fight Feed. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one.